One, two, three. Ayan. Kamusta kayo dyan? Welcome everyone. Officially #1 political podcast in the country. Ayan. Top 100 Singapore. Kamusta kayo dyan? Salamat sa aking co-host Ronald Llamas. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And nakaset up tayong podcaster.
Magandang hapon, Big R, no? Salamat. Napapadalas yung pag-imbita mo sa Small R dito sa iyong #1 political podcast, no?
Yan. Para magagalit na naman sa atin. Pero salamat sa iyo. Salamat sa iyo, Mark. Lahat ng mga collaborations, I think it's finding its own market. So I'm very, very appreciative. Just to be clear, if you go actually to Spotify, dun sa mga politics and news podcast, kasama tayo at saka kasama rin si parang Christian Esguerra doon sa mga popular news and political podcast sa Spotify, no? Among others. So good job din doon sa ating mga ibang kaibigan who are pushing the envelope of discussion. So alam niyo naman ako, hindi ako masyadong competitive. I'm willing to share the spotlight. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but ang target natin, Ronald, by next year dapat #1 in Asia na tayo. Pang ano na tayo, last for Asian Games.
Sino ba rival natin? Sino ba rival natin?
Singaporean, Hong Kong, usually mga ganun eh. Singapore and Hong Kong kalaban natin. Kaya natin yan. Hindi sila kasi matagal na yung ibang podcast nila tsaka may full setup sila. So tayo yung medyo third world version. Pero may laban naman tayo, Sir Ronald, kahit ganyan. Alright. May nag-comment nga, sabi niya, maganda nga na walang edit. Di ba yung mga ibang podcast, Ronald, yung merong music, may tapos may cut-off. Hindi, sabi niya, parang sa inyo, parang nandun lang kami sa jeepney, nakikinig dun sa mga katabi namin nakikimarites. So may pagka-authentic daw yung sa atin, di ba?
Spontaneous naman tayo, di ba? Parang tayo sa tabing kalsada, di ba?
Ayan. Baka doon #1 talaga tayo sa Asia at least, no? Yung authentic, unedited, unscripted. Totally wala kaming yung background ko na-blur ko dito, napakagulo yung likod natin. Okay, Sir Ronald, there's a lot to discuss. I mean, kailan lang tayo nag-usap, di ba? 5 days ago lang, 4 days ago. Pero since then, ayan na naman, ang dami mga updates. So natutuwa tayo, nakasama ka namin. Now, first of all, let's discuss this. What it looks like, Ronald, no? First speech by Sara as functionally an opposition, right? Like, if you have a disagreement with the president and kasama ka sa unit team, why would you go in public and openly question yung isa sa kanilang mga malalaking polisiya ngayon, which is peace negotiation with the CPP-NPA people? What is your read on that? Do you think this is effectively, I mean, di ba, kung unit team talaga, bakit mo pa ilalabas yan sa public? Bakit mo openly question? This is like Leni Robredo saying something about Duterte policies, right? It doesn't look like she's part of the administration. And do you think it's just a matter of time na paparesign din siya like Leni Robredo nung kini-question ni Leni yung drug war ni Digong?
Nakakalungkot, Richard. Dahil just a few days ago, no, naghiwalay si Katniel. Tapos kahapon first public disagreement ni Sara with President Bongbong Marcos, no? Kaya yung mga hindi pa naniniwala na yung unity team ay nawasak na, baka ito yung solid proof na hinihintay nila, no? Kaya ikaw ba hindi ka nalulungkot, no? Ang daming breakup, no?
Alam mo naman,
Pero hindi naman to surprising, Big R dahil hindi naman to nangyari in a vacuum. Ibig sabihin, slow burn na may mga quick burn in between, no? Nangyari ito as early as last year, di ba? Itong mga maneuverings, itong mga disenchantment sa mga appointments, itong disenchantment sa speakership, nagsimulang sumabog early this year, no? With the so-called destabilization against the speaker na inamin ng speaker na nip in the bud. Kahit walang binabanggit ng mga plotters. Eventually, ay lumabas naman through their own mouth na ang plotter ay si ex-President Arroyo at ikinagalit ito ng Vice President at nagkaroon tayo ng tambaluslos incident. Sabi ko nga before, what can be worse than tambaluslos? Tambaluslos will define the next few years. Kaya hindi ito masyadong surprising because of the tambaluslos incident, which was the most public attack on not only the cousin, no, but the political operator of the president, no, the speaker himself, who could be the campaign manager in the midterms, no, or who could even be the anointed successor of the president, no, kung paniniwalaan mo yung mga marites, no.
Sir
Kaya
Ronald, Sir Ronald, pwede lumapit ka pa sa microphone. May mga nagbabash dyan na parang nasa CR daw yung audio natin. Alam mo yung mga vloggers, yung mga DDS vloggers na gaano sa CR, yung parang gano'n. Ilapit mo, ang ganda ng pag malapit siya sa'yo, Sir Ronald. Ganda ng quality.
Hindi ko alam, parang dito eh. Hindi sa akin to eh. No?
Pag malapit ka maganda. Yeah, exactly. Bakit gano'n?
Yes.
Pwede ka bumaba ng konti siguro or itaas mo siya? Patulong ka sa kasi ang ganda ng quality pag malapit na, bossing. Sayang kasi alam niyo naman pag number 1 podcast kailangan natin ng quality ngayon. Medyo conscious na tayo, medyo
baka mabawasan yung authenticity.
Kaya ang ganda. Hindi, kasi ang ganda ng sinasabi niyo. Sabi ni ito si Beb Mill, Idol Ronald parang nasa loob ng CR audio. May mga live na balahutan na kasama natin. Ang ganda pa naman sinasabi mo, bossing. Sayang pa naman.
Bahagi ng community natin yan. Bahagi ng ating spontaneity. Yung mga nakikinig sa atin, yung mga nagko-comment, di ba? Hindi yan edited, no? Yung mga comments na yan.
Wala namang problema na hindi edited. Wag nang galing sa CR yung audio.
Okay na. Hindi na mukhang CR.
Ito mukhang yung mga tambay sa kanto.
Bedroom boys na.
Yung mga
pwede ng bedroom boys?
Ayan,
pwede ng bedroom boys?
Bedroom boys, talagang kanto boys. Okay. Ito, okay. Ayan, okay.
So, to continue yung sinasabi ko, ay hindi na nangyari in a vacuum. No, we saw it coming especially this past few months. Pero mahalaga ito, defining ito, compelling ito, dahil ito yung first public disagreement. Ito yung first public criticism sa policy ng presidente. At hindi lang simpleng public, no? May binanggit na demonyo no? Yung peace talks is dealing with the devil. Ibig sabihin, it doesn't put the president in a good light. Pero mo yung presidente nakikipag-usap sa demonyo, ibig sabihin, one step na siya sa pagiging demonyo. No?
Or sinasabi mo na bobo siya. Di ba? Parang sinasabi mo, bobo to. Nakikipag-usap dun sa walang kwentang kausap. Di ba? Parang ganun Ang pangit pakinggan
Yes.
Diba? Hindi siya...
Yung pa nga yung medyo soft na bobo ito. Pero yung mas extreme, demonyo rin yung presidente. Dahil nakikipag-usap sa kapwa demonyo, no? Hindi naman natin ginagatungan, pero hindi naman ganun kalayo yung ganung klaseng logical flow nung banat ni Vice President Sara Duterte kay President Bongbong Marcos. At mukhang hindi naman natin kailangan ng gatungan Dahil ang dami na nangyari this year from Tambaluslos, di ba? Sabi ko nga, marami sa mga pangyayari, hindi naman pwedeng hindi alam ng presidente. Itong pagtanggal kay GMA as a deputy speaker, no, itong pagtanggal ng hundreds of millions ng intelligence at saka confidential fund kay Vice President Sara Duterte, di ba? Itong mga lumalabas na threats of destabilization ng coup coming from the chief of staff himself, no? And the president, ex-president Duterte saying na wala siyang kinalaman dito, no? Kinakausap lang niya ay mga retired generals. Pero winawarningan ng gobyerno about the military and the police. So, ang daming mga ganyan no? Itong sinasabi natin are just the highlights ng mga statements, ng mga events na nangyari this past few months. Pero ang conclusion mo ay talagang matagal nang nabiyak yung unity team. At hindi lang nabiyak, ay nagpaplano na sila sa isa't isa. No, ang galit ni Vice President Sara Duterte kaya siguro na-trigger itong pagbanat niya sa peace talks ay yung alleged na pagpayag ng gobyerno na papasukin yung ICC. Right. 'Di ba? Dahil ang laki ng pagbabago mula sa early this year na totally sarado ang gobyerno na papasukin ng ICC tapos ngayon pinag-aaralan nila, no? Pinag-aaralan ng husto ang pagpasok. So talagang hindi mo kinakailangan magaling magbasa between the lines para maunawaan kung anong implications nitong pag-aaral sa pagpasok ng ICC. Lalo na yung Arroyo Duterte camp. Kaya parang wala nang wala nang kaplastikan, wala na usually nangyayari sa politiko, di ba? Ito ay diretsuhan na,
Honest na sila,
no?
honest. Honest na
Oo,
yung politika natin.
rarely honest, no? Dahil kung pakikinggan mo yung mga public pronouncement, wala naman palang away eh, di ba? Sabi nga ni ex-President Arroyo, I remain loyal to the Speaker, I remain loyal to the President, I remain loyal to the country, no? Talagang bibilib ka, ang taas ng level ng loyalty, no? Unless titignan mo yung kanyang track record, no?
Baka naman loyal to the idea of what a speaker should be, not necessarily who's occupying. But
Pwede.
let's
Pwede,
just
no?
well, I would call this not honesty but more like bardagulan. But speaking of bardagulan, let's look at ito yung sinabi ni Speaker Romualdez in
Bardagulan. That's a mouthful, ha?
Dapat yun yung ano natin. I mean, parang tambalos-los din yan in a way, di ba? Dapat meron tayong podcast, Bardagulan with R&R, something like that. Ito, basahin natin ito kay Martin Romualdez. At kung minimute ang sarili ko. Ito, sumagot si House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, no? Nag-clarify siya na itong peace negotiations between the government of the Philippines and the National Democratic Front of the Philippines ay hindi lang political maneuvering at papakute lang, pero ito ay isang responsibilidad, no, ng gobyerno to reach kind of a peace and kind of a stability, no? After all, this is about national security, no? Ito yung sinabi ni ating Speaker of the House, no? This negotiation is more than just a political maneuver. It is a moral imperative, a chance to mend the fissures that have long divided our nation. We're not just negotiating terms. We're weaving the fabric of a peaceful future for every Filipino. Ba, medyo maganda yung speech na yan. Let us embrace this opportunity with open hearts and minds. Meaning, wag kayong magmarites yan na demonyo ganyan. Wag yan. Let's be open hearts and minds, fostering an environment where peace can flourish. Together, under President Marcos Jr., we shall strive towards a Philippines that is not only prosperous, but also harmonious and united in its diversity. Taray talagang mga sinasabi niya.
So, maganda yung statement. In fairness, ha? Ikaw yung sulat yan? Ikaw. Hindi ko yung sulat ng statement. Parang
baka may AI version ng Heydarian na AI app tapos gagawin niya.
Hindi ko niya na chat GPT, ha.
Chat Heydarian.
Pero ako kasi Richard, Big R, nakasama ako sa peace process with the communist noong panahon ni Pinoy. Lalo na nung nag-collapse. Nung nag-collapse yung peace process, yung at least yung official, no, ay ginawa namin yung special track. No, nag-send ng feeler si Joma, initially kay Vice President Binay, tapos umabot kay OPAP Secretary Ging Deles, tapos umabot kay Presidente, at sabi ni Presidente, i-check mo nga ito kung seryoso itong mga to. Dahil merong several stages ang peace process eh. Yung isa, yung exploratory, no? Bago mo simulan yung formal. No? Nag-leveling up muna kayo, baka mamaya nagbobulahan lang kayo eh. Di ba? Para malinaw yung term of reference. Yung ikalawa, itong pagsisimula officially ng peace process. No? It's just a process. Mahabang proseso pa yan, no? At yung ikatlo, yung political settlement. Ibig sabihin may unity na naabot sa peace process, no? At saka yung pang-apat, no, ay yung implementation ng political settlement, no? Mahirap yung ganyang klaseng process. Halimbawa ako nung doon sa exploratory, nung una akong pumunta sa Utrecht, sabi ko kay Joe Masison, Joe, tayong one-on-one muna. Huwag mo muna isama yung iyong mga supporters, no, yung iyong team. Hindi ko rin isasama yung aking bit-bit dito na team ko. Tayong dalawa muna, no? Prangkahan tayo. No, ano nangyari doon sa mga nakaraang
personal diplomacy.
Yes. Anong nangyari doon sa mga nakaraang peace process, no? Yan ba ay mauulit? Ikaw ba ay seryoso rito? Maglalagay ba kayo ng mga conditions bago magsimula yung peace process? O talaga magsisimula tayo na blank paper, no, na walang preconditions, etc., etc. So marami kami na pag-usapan one-on-one. Kaya nung pagbalik ko sa presidente, ang report ko sa kanya, boss, mukhang seryoso. Mukhang seryoso this time, no? Kung meron mang naging problema in previous peace processes, mukhang ito seryoso, at least yung kausap ko. At least si Joma, the founder of the Communist Party, the main ideologue. Kaya pagbalik ko ron, ay sinimulan namin, no? More or less officially yung proseso. At nangyari yan for 1 year, no? For 1 year. Tingin ko yan yung sinisimulan ngayon nitong ginawa nilang statement at saka dokumento at saka yung picture taking with the special assistant to the president, Anton Lagdameo, no? Kasama si OPAP Head Galvez, no? Kasama yung mga iba pang mga naiwang leaders ni Joma Sison, his wife Julie Sison, Louis Halandoni, no? Na dati na naging negotiator, spokesman ng National Democratic Front. So, simula ito ng peace process. So, ibang usapin pa kung ano yung mga pag-uusapan. Mahaba yan. Ako, on my part, umabot ng mahigit 1 taon. Yung iba, mas mahaba pa. No? Pero sana, itong process na ito ay magsamula ng walang preconditions. Para kung talaga in good faith pareho. Ang hirap kasi kung may preconditions eh. No? At itong process na ito ay kakalmahin mo, kakausapin mo yung mga pareho mong constituency. Halimbawa, usually ang critical o tumututol dyan, yung military. Diba? Dahil sila yung nasa gitna ng bakbakan eh. Sila yung mga nawalan ng mga kaibigan, kasama, kamag-anak sa gera. So sila yung on the government side, yan yung mga unang kakausapin. No? O kakalmahin o kukumbinsihin. Ganon din naman yung CPP, Communist Party of the Philippines. Kailangan nilang kausapin yung mga guerrillas nila rito, yung mga NPA commanders, no? Okay ba sa inyo na ito yung ating starting point? Okay ba sa inyo itong ganitong proseso? Kaya dadayong pa yung proseso na yan, no? Marami pa yung hurdles, no? Pero ang tingin ko ay mahalaga itong simula. Lalo na yung maraming mga skeptics, peace process during the time of Marcos, di ba? Yun yung kanilang kwal eh. Medyo nasira yung ganong klaseng skepticism. Na skepticism pa rin, pero at least meron ng magandang simula. So far, no? So far. Kaya nandun tayo ngayon sa proseso na yan. Malayo pa yung political settlement. Malayo pa yun eh, no? Pero for now, mukhang yung exploratory at yung initial phase ng peace process ay medyo positive. Wala pa namang publicly kumokontra from the side of the military at from the side of the New People's Army. Wala pa. Although may mga kaunting pahiwatig yung military na, habang nangyayari yung peace process, wala namang ceasefire. O at least wala pa. Ibig sabihin, military operations will continue. No? Wala rin sinasabing ganon ang NPA. That could be a result in the medium term. No? Dahil marami munang mga confidence building activities na gagawin, no, dito sa first phase. So makikita natin yung mga phases na yan. Kaya medyo premature yung banat ni Vice President Sara Duterte na you're talking with the devil, no? Wala namang inosente sa gera eh. Di ba? Wala namang inosente sa civil war.
Diplomacy, peace negotiation is not with friends, right? Like it's kaya may negotiation because you have to deal with enemies and rivals. Diplomacy was invented not to marites with friends, but to deal with enemies or rivals and all. No, but Ronald, going back to this, siguro gusto mo maglagay ng libro sa ilalim para hindi ka mapagod while holding that podcast. Maybe
hawakan mo lang.
Baka mapagod ka
okay na.
Baka sa'yo, baka pero baka magagandang arms natin dyan. Okay, boss Ronald.
Masyado mo naman ako minamaliit kahit senior ako.
Hindi,
no? I can still outfight, outthink, outrun.
Baka madole. Baka madole mo kami. Baka madole mo kami. Exploit.
Naman tayo. We still have fuel to burn. No? Yeah. We still have fuel to burn. Medyo malayo-layo pa.
Or power. Sir Ronald, tanong ko I mean, give me, what is the best possible scenario given everything? And ano yung mga worst possible scenarios na dapat i-avoid natin? And then, for you, what do you think is the most realistic outcome if tuloy-tuloy itong ganitong negotiation strategy ng kasalukuyan na administration as things stand? You know,
both sides naman, both sides have hawks and doves. Diba? Both sides meron yan eh. No? Hindi naman yan monolithic eh. Like, meron diyang gustong isabotahe yung ganitong proseso, no? Dahil sa kanilang sariling experience, galit, o ibang agenda, no? Tingin ko hindi yan monopoly ng isang side lang. Both sides have their hawks and doves. Ang mahalaga sa proseso na ito ay hold firm yung fulcrum, no? Yung fulcrum, yung nagbabalanse ng mga differences habang nagpo-proceed yung peace process. Dahil maraming differences eh. Maraming differences eh. Ang sinasabi lang ay itong differences na ito baka ma-resolve in a civilized manner, or at least baka pwedeng ma-manage. We can agree to disagree without killing each other. Because we're all Filipinos, no? At parehas naman tayong may punto. No? Hindi naman to black and white. Kaya ito yung role ng fulcrum, the gray area, no? Paano yung unities na pwedeng magawa, no? Dito, hindi katulad ng unity team na wala namang laman yung unity. Dito sa peace process, naghahanap ka talaga ng solid unity dun sa mga root causes ng ating problema as a nation, no? As a country, no? As a generation, dahil mahalaga na yung next generation ay makinabang do sa fruits nitong peace process, di ba? Hindi na ito tungkol about us eh. It's about the future, no? Kaya dapat willing to sacrifice yung present generation do sa kanilang mga differences para magkaroon ng unity to benefit the future generation, no? Kaya hindi siya ganun kadali, hindi siya ganun kasimple, di ba? Yun yung sinasabi
but
natin.
Ronald, okay, let's go to the meat of the issue, because invested ang mga Dutertes dun sa zero tolerance, all-out war, red tagging kind of, essentially bara-bara kind of approach, no? And clearly the Marcos administration medyo nag-iisip, medyo napapaisip na sa tingin nila this is not the smartest way to go forward. So clearly the Dutertes could end up as an obstacle to the peace process, right? I mean, what could they do? I mean, kasi nga invested sila dun sa bara-barang strategy, di ba? And well, dun sa drug war, I don't know what they're gonna do because Marcos also made an adjustment here. Pero parang eto mas emotionally invested pa nga sila eh dito sa issue ng the Duterte way of dealing with communists and all. Obviously, there's a historical background which is quite ironic for Duterte, what's so friendly to certain people ay biglang nag-turn to the other side, but history is replete with that. But yun nga, the thing is, during the time of Pinoy, when you were in the government, you didn't have a major political dynasty, right, opposing the peace process. You had people in the military, you had people in media, some right-wing people, I don't know. But now a major political faction or dynasty is against any sort of reasonable outreach and negotiation.
Exactly. Exactly, Richard, no? Ang nakakatawa nga rito, the strange thing about this, itong atake ng Duterte dito sa peace process, no? Sila lang ang alam ko na gobyerno na nakipag-alyado dito sa grupo na ito. Di ba? During the campaign, after the campaign, siya lang ang presidente na yung mga identified, no? Hindi ko sinasabing membro, identified sa ganitong klaseng ideological tendency ay pinapasok niya sa kanyang gobyerno. Hindi lang 3 cabinet positions, maraming undersecretary positions, no? Ibig sabihin, sila lang ang gobyerno, sila lang ang presidente na nag-accommodate dito sa ganitong klaseng ideological organization or movement, no? Pero sa ngayon, sila yung pinaka-kontra, no? Sila yung pinaka-kontra, kaya medyo strange, no? Pero tama ka na hindi lamang sila kumokontra. Ginagamit nila yung kanilang pagkontra to agitate the military. Di ba? Ginawa nila yan a few months ago eh. Nung sinabi nila na si Speaker kaalyado ang mga komunista. Di ba? Sinabi nila yan eh, na itong mga attack dogs ng Speaker.
Red tagging.
Oo. Sinabi nila. Tapos ngayon, sinasabi nila, the government, no less than the president, is dealing with the devil. So, in-scale up nila yung atake na sinimulan na nila a few months ago. Diba? Dapat nga gamitin tong intelligence fund ng anak ko para ipapatay itong congresswoman na komunista na ito. Diba? Ngayon, umabot na hanggang presidente. Hindi na lang speaker. Diba? Yun yung scaling up na makikita natin. At tingin ko ginagawa nila ito dahil nakita nila yung writing on the wall na basically capital I, capital C, capital C. Nakita nila no, na hindi ito biro-biro, hindi ito tactics, mukhang seryoso na papapasukin na ito, which is a very existential issue for the Duterte. Lalo na kung babasahin mo yung interview ni Montalban kay Las Cañas, the alleged head of the Davao Death Squad. Lalo na kung babasahin mo yung nilalabas ng Vera Files na hindi lamang si President Duterte ang posibleng makasuhan, kung hindi pati yung kanyang mga kaibigan ng mga senador at mismo yung kanyang anak na Vice President. So very existential itong issue na ito. Kaya tingin ko, ang kanilang decision is to scale up attack. No, scale up.
I mean,
in more ways than one.
Yeah, mini civil war. I mean, obviously, before we transition to the next important issue, which is of course yung bombing in Marawi and concerns about resurgence of religious extremism, etc. Because ito pa yung isa pang insurgency problem natin, no, or actually terrorism problem in this case. I mean, but isn't that the exact explanation? Precisely because in-embrace nila itong mga to before, and then nag-fall apart, mas vicious yung kanilang attack, di ba? Precisely because they were together at some point. No? I don't know if it's part defensiveness or also part sobrang bitter yung pagka-break up nila, di ba? After, some flirtation in 2016 to 2017, di ba? I mean, for you, bakit ang bitter netong mga to sa mga NPA and all kumpara dun sa mga ibang elite factions in the Philippines? Is it because the breakup was better? Is it because they're defensive and trying, or is it, and I wanted to actually mention this, Ronald, is it because this is their whip, this is their rallying cry, this is how they get the people rallying behind them by red tagging and all of that? So it's a mobilization strategy, if I can put it that way.
I think it's all of the above sa mga sinabi mo, Richard. Partly dahil nagsama sila sa kama. No, nagsama sila sa kama at usually yung ganyang klaseng ka-intense sa pagsasama, mas intense ang breakup.
Medyo.
Diba? Dahil
medyo spicy masyado yung nangyari. May
imagine mo ba? Lumalabas na ba yung meme sa kwan mo, sa kwan mo, sa isip mo, Richard? So, yun yung isa. Dahil exactly sila lang ang nagtangkilik, no? Sinama sa gobyerno, nakasama sa kampanya, no? Kaya mas intense yung breakup. At yung breakup defines their future relationship. Pero ikalawa, ginagamit din nila, weaponize nila ito, no? To gather support and agitate the key sector in lipunan, yung military.
Yeah, no? Mobilization strategy talaga. Yeah.
Yes. Kaya at ito ay may pinanggalingan. Sabi ko nga kanina, no, nag-warning si Duterte tungkol sa military at police. Sinasakyan ng matandang Duterte yung mga disenchantment, yung mga reklamo tungkol sa corruption, tungkol sa pension fund, no, tungkol sa ibang problema ng bansa at dinidikit sa kanilang away sa presidente. At ngayon, ito yung pwedeng pinaka-intense na agitation nila, na kakutsaba ng gobyerno ang mga komunista. Medyo talagang madrama ang Pilipinas. Imagine mo, a Marcos, no, being branded as an ally of the communists.
Well, they did that to Nino
Aquino. It can only happen in the Philippines.
Yeah. No, I mean, they did that to Nino Aquino and all of that. I mean, politico, di ba? I mean, for me, in the case of Argentina, Peron, right, was the guy who brought military and labor union and all of communists together, right? So anyway, we can have a long discussion, but just to end on this episode, because I want to also talk about Mindanao, especially the Marawi issue, the terrorist attack. Let's discuss that also. Kasi for me, we still have to get to the bottom of what happened in 2017. Sinong natulog sa pansitan, di ba? How did that happen? So, dito sa issue ng... yun nga sino ba sa tingin mo ba yung military ngayon, hindi yung mga retired, yung nandun na sa service ngayon, do you think they're susceptible to this kind of agitation of red tagging the Marcos administration and Martin Romualdez and all of that?
Well, tingin ko may mga sections
na pwedeng maapektuhan ito. But I think ko yung dominant military groupings ay susunod sa chain of command. At yung chain of command ay nakatali sa presidente as commander-in-chief. At bibigyan nila ng the benefit of the doubt at the very least yung presidente na alam niya yung kanyang ginagawa, no? Pero magkakaroon ng grumblings, no? Magkakaroon ng mga agitation. And hindi ako magugulat kung merong tutulak na minority within the military. Dahil itong mga desktop, itong mga coup, minority lang naman ang gumagawa dyan eh. Most of the military, 90% or more, ay tinitingnan kung sino mananalo. No? Pero in this case, tingin ko the chain of command is still holding and will continue to hold. No? Dahil hindi pa to ganun ka-fundamental eh. Kahit merong mga ma-agitate, kahit merong magkakaroon ng grumblings, no? Tingin ko it is not enough to be a serious threat to the president for now.
Yeah, on that note, thank you very much, Ronald Llamas, for that. I mean, I wanted to ask you on this because you were also part of negotiations before, but things have changed dramatically. 6 years of Duterte, 1 year of flirtation between him and the people on the far left, and then now you have Mark. But just to end on this, I mean, maybe that's the plan, right? If all of this started or intensified during the father, maybe the son want to close this chapter, right? This is something that we discussed before. I mean, who knows? Maybe by the end of the Marcos Jr. term, matapos na itong communist insurgency, the longest running, which can be traced back to his father, right? Let the son fix up the mess of
Nagulat nga ako, Richard, dahil meron ako narinig na general na sinabi, no, last year, early on, no, na nagsimula itong communist insurgency ng panahon ng tatay. Tatapusin namin ito sa panahon ng anak. Dahil nakita nila na humihina na eh. No? Nakikita nila na ideologically and politically, organizationally and militarily, dramatically humina kumpara ng mga previous years. Kaya ang tingin nila na kaya itong tapusin. Kaya nung lumabas itong peace process, yung iba nagulat. Yung iba nagulat na on the verge of decimation, according to some generals, tapos nagkaroon ng peace process, no? That can have both positive and negative impulses, no? Positive dahil may ray of hope, no? Moving forward. Negative dahil ang tingin siguro ng iba, ba't hindi pa natin tinapos? No? Bakit binigyan pa natin ng lifeline? So, it depends kung sino magmamanage ng mga negative at saka positive impulses according to their own political agenda, no? It's not just spin eh. It's also about substantially how they will use the negative and positive impulses created by this peace process.
On that note, thank you very much, Secretary Ronald Llamas, for that very interesting discussion we had, of course, on an issue that you're really familiar with. So, thank you for sharing your insights. Now, let's talk about the other one, which is also has to do something with insurgency in the next episode. Maraming salamat.